Why did fascism rise so rapidly in Germany and Italy during the 20th century? The answer lies in the perfect storm of social, political, and economic factors that reshaped Europe after World War I. Let's break it down. First, what exactly is fascism? It's a far-right, authoritarian ultranationalist ideology. At its core, fascism emphasizes the absolute power of a dictator. This kind of leadership aims to control every aspect of society, suppressing any opposition, regimenting daily life, and enforcing strict obedience. Unlike democratic systems, where power is shared and open dialogue is encouraged, fascism thrives on eliminating dissent and creating a unified, yet controlled, national identity. This is what makes it such a powerful and dangerous political force. Now, let's consider the world after World War I. Europe was in chaos. Countries like Germany and Italy were grappling with economic hardships, massive debt, unemployment, and inflation. For Germany, the Treaty of Versailles added fuel to the fire by forcing them to accept responsibility for the war and pay enormous reparations. This created a sense of national humiliation and resentment. Meanwhile, widespread social unrest was growing as people looked for solutions to their suffering. This turmoil created the perfect environment for radical ideologies like fascism to take root. When people feel desperate and defeated, they're often drawn to promises of order, stability, and national pride, exactly what fascist leaders like Mussolini and Hitler claimed to offer. Finally, why did fascism emerge at this specific time? It wasn't just economic struggles. Fascism arose as a reaction against other major ideologies that were gaining traction in the 20th century. Liberal democracy, socialism, and communism all offered competing visions for how society should function. For many, especially those afraid of communist revolutions or dissatisfied with weak democratic governments, fascism seemed like a bold, decisive alternative. Its leaders promised to restore traditional values, strengthen the nation, and eliminate the perceived threats of political chaos and ideological division. In short, the rise of fascism in Germany and Italy was no accident. It was the result of deep economic, social, and political upheaval in post-World War I Europe. By capitalizing on people's fear, anger, and longing for stability, fascist ideologies found fertile ground to grow. And as we'll see, this rise would go on to reshape world history in profound ways. After World War I, Italy was in crisis. The country faced severe inflation, widespread unemployment, and a growing fear of socialism among the population. This economic and political turmoil created a sense of instability and paved the way for radical change. In 1922, Benito Mussolini and his paramilitary group, the Blackshirts, took action. They organized the March on Rome, a bold demonstration of power that pressured the Italian king to appoint Mussolini as prime minister. This marked the beginning of his rise to power. Once in control, Mussolini quickly worked to consolidate his authority. He suppressed opposition, using violence and intimidation to silence critics. He also took control of the media, ensuring that only pro-fascist messaging reached the public. To strengthen his rule further, he initiated large public works projects to gain popular support and showcase the power of his regime. Mussolini's rise marked the establishment of a totalitarian state in Italy, setting the stage for a dramatic transformation of the nation's political and social systems. After World War I, Germany was left in ruins. The Treaty of Versailles imposed harsh penalties, including massive reparations, territorial losses, and the blame for the war. These terms devastated Germany's economy and created a sense of national humiliation, leaving the country desperate for change. In this environment, Adolf Hitler rose to prominence. He tapped into the nationalist anger and economic despair, promising to restore Germany's greatness. Through powerful speeches and propaganda, Hitler gained widespread support by appealing to both pride and fear. His leadership turned the Nazi Party into a dominant force in German politics. Once in power, Hitler quickly dismantled democracy to establish his dictatorship. He used events like the Reichstag fire to justify cracking down on political opponents. The Enabling Act of 1933 gave him the authority to rule without parliamentary consent, solidifying his control. Through these measures, Hitler transformed Germany into a totalitarian state, paving the way for his aggressive expansionist agenda and the tragedies that would follow. Fascism in Germany and Italy shared many similarities, but also had key differences that set them apart. Both movements emphasized authoritarianism, nationalism, and the suppression of dissent. They rejected democracy, promoted a strong centralized state, and used violence to eliminate opposition. These shared ideological traits made fascism in both countries a tool for consolidating power and creating tightly controlled societies. Leadership and propaganda played a major role in both regimes. Charismatic leaders like Mussolini and Hitler were central figures, using their personalities to inspire loyalty and rally the masses. Propaganda was a powerful weapon, carefully crafted to promote their ideologies and manipulate public opinion. However, there were important differences. German fascism under Hitler was heavily driven by racial ideology, particularly anti-Semitism, which led to the Holocaust. Italian fascism, on the other hand, focused more on imperial ambitions, such as expanding Italy's territories in Africa and the Mediterranean. While united by core principles, the fascist regimes in Germany and Italy adapted their strategies to fit their unique goals and circumstances, shaping their impact on history in distinct ways. Fascism's impact on the world was both devastating and far-reaching, leaving a legacy that continues to shape history. First, fascism was a direct catalyst for World War II. Its aggressive policies, including military expansion and territorial conquests by Germany and Italy, destabilized Europe and ultimately plunged the world into conflict. The ambition of fascist leaders like Hitler and Mussolini for power and dominance set the stage for one of the deadliest wars in human history. The humanitarian consequences of fascism were catastrophic. Fascist ideologies fueled widespread atrocities, with the Holocaust standing as one of the darkest chapters. Millions of innocent people were persecuted and killed under regimes that prioritized racial purity and authoritarian control. In the aftermath of the war, the world reflected on the dangers of fascism. The lessons learned helped shape post-war policies aimed at preventing the rise of authoritarianism. New international frameworks, such as the United Nations and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, were established to promote peace, democracy, and human rights on a global scale. The legacy of fascism serves as a powerful reminder of what can happen when authoritarianism and intolerance go unchecked. It's a history that continues to inform our actions and values today. The rise of fascism offers critical lessons for us today. It highlights the dangers of economic instability and the seductive promises of authoritarian leaders who exploit fear and uncertainty to gain power. Democracy is not something we can take for granted. It requires vigilance. Authoritarian ideologies can resurface in times of crisis, and it's up to us to defend democratic values and resist the forces that seek to undermine them. Finally, global cooperation is essential. Post-war institutions like the United Nations were created to prevent future conflicts and foster unity. They remind us that only by working together can we ensure peace and stability in the face of global challenges. History shows us what's at stake, and it's up to all of us to learn from it. If you found this breakdown helpful, let's keep the conversation going. Like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to stay informed. Together, we can keep history's lessons alive.